Hello, everyone. This is Charlotte Ellis from the Department of Education. We're going to get started here in a couple minutes. We just wanted to get ready here, and we're hopeful that we can all stay on. I'm in the cross office building today, but the power is flickering, so hope for the best that we continue. I should be able to function without power anyway for at least a few minutes. I do know that there's a bunch of people that may not be able to make it, so if you do hear from any of them, do know that this will be recorded, and we will put it on our website so that it will be before we're done, I'll have Trevor show you where that will be on our website so that we can make sure that people that are unable to attend will be able to catch it at a later date. And they can also email us and we can send them a link to that once we have it downloaded, and we have to make sure that it has a transcript so that it's accessible to everyone, and then we'll get that up on our website, including any questions and answers that we have throughout the presentation. So as I said, I'm Charlotte Ellis. I'm the data manager for the Department of Education, and this morning presenting with me is Kathy Severance. Kathy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Charlotte. Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Severance, and I'm the Secretary Specialist for the Department of Education in the Unorganized Territories Office. I will be the person responsible for handling the billings for the Unorganized Territories for education services for our students.
All right. And we also have Trevor Burns on with us this morning. He's the Student Enrollment Specialist for the department, and Trevor will be running the webinar and answering any or reading the questions and monitoring questions for us.
Yep.
So we'll jump in. So yeah, okay. You can go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, saying hello, and also just let people know that we'll be answering questions right as they come in today, instead of waiting to the end, just so in case people lose power and stuff. So I'll be chiming in throughout the webinar to bring up questions.
All right, so the reason we did this today was because we find that throughout the year there may be some miscommunication about how EUT students need to be enrolled, and we also know that there are some new people out in the field or new districts that may be taking EUT students, so we thought it would be good to put this presentation out so that people can get their question answered if there are any. So we're going to jump right in, and we will start with Kathy.
Thank you. I'll start by presenting a quick history of deorganization and what that is and what that means. Deorganization has been taking place in Maine since the 1800s, and this occurs when a town can no longer financially support itself or continue to provide the taxpayer services from local funds raised by local tax revenues. The town and the state come together to create a plan for the state to continue to provide the needed services for those residents, such as roads and bridges maintenance, waste management, land use planning, forestry, and education services. Once the plan is approved by local referendum and passed, it then moves into the legislative process to become a state law, or a legislative document is created. The passage of the law transfers the responsibility for the administration of those services for those residents to the Office of the State Auditor for funding of unorganized territory services ongoing. Next, please. Because the new unorganized territory is now under state administration, the previous local school district has been dissolved. So during the planning process with the local town officers and a local vote, along with the state coordinators from the Office of Fiscal Audit, a plan is arranged where all of the services will continue to be provided, and that includes looking at the educational opportunities at that time, and so therefore there are assigned school districts. So school assignments were previously planned for in the deorganization process for that town. So an alternative placement policy is in place for parents to request approval for their student to attend an other than assigned school. We have a one-page form for parents to complete. They need to provide proof of UT residency, which would be in the form of a state tax bill, property taxpayer bill, and submit a letter of compelling reasons for the request to the EUT office for the director of EUT to approve or deny that placement. If approved, the tuition and special education costs, where and if needed or as required, will be reimbursed to the attending school. Transportation does become the responsibility of the parent. So before enrolling a UT student in your school, please check to be sure that you are the assigned school district. And if not, please refer the parent to the EUT office to place an alternative placement request before enrollment. Next, please. The difference between the EUT and a regular school district, because of that deorganization, responsibility for public educational services was transferred from a local school district organizational structure and is now to be provided by the Education in the Unorganized Territory Office under the Commissioner of the Department of Education's oversight. Because the EUT is a state-operated agency and not a local agency, we are not eligible to participate in local school district superintendent agreements. The EUT does not receive any EPS subsidy funding from the Department of Education. All services are funded and paid for solely by unorganized territory taxpayers for that county. The EUT operates 3 schools. We have Kingman, Connor, and Edmonds, and we have out-of-district enrollments of approximately 700 students attending throughout 60 to 65 districts or private schools, and in 160 to 165 schools statewide. Next, please.
All right. So some things that to be aware of when you're enrolling students in Synergy is the fiscal responsibility. So some of what Kathy just talked about shows, if you pare it down, it shows that the only 2 codes that are eligible for you to use for these students are really, you should be using paid by resident SAU or EUT in most cases. If you have made an agreement with parents or what you think is a superintendent agreement, but Kathy said there isn't a superintendent agreement. So if you've not been approved for an alternate placement and you're allowing that student to attend your school, you need to put in paid by other source. So if you want reimbursement from EUT, you need to use paid by resident SAU or EUT. That's the only code that makes sense. That's the only code that's applicable. The other thing to know is that for EUT students, physical address and contact information is important. It's going to be necessary for you to put that information in, and you may get a call from someone either from Kathy's team or from the data team if address information is missing. And this is not mailing address, this is physical address, because the EUT needs to be able to validate what territory that student is coming from. It's also important to get these in. So even though EUT doesn't participate in EPS fundings, they do certify a report, an October enrollment report, at the same time as the rest of you are doing your EPS reports. They validate their enrollments as well. And you may be asked to enroll a student with a primary enrollment, so a partial enrollment at a special purpose private school or CTE school can be created. So if the student is not attending your school as a primary enrollment, but is attending an EUT, attending a special purpose private school or a CTE school, the EUT, and you take most of the other students from that EUT territory, they may ask you to put in an enrollment, and then we can talk about how the funding for that would happen. But since the student is not actually attending your school, but you may be asked to do that. Kathy?
Thank you, Charlotte. For billing purposes, and many of you are already aware because we've been doing this for years now, but for anyone new coming in that hadn't yet received the information, school districts should send invoices for tuition at the current tuition rates as established by the Department of Education for the EUT. That is not the tuition rates that are published on the web, on the Department of Education website. The calculation is different for the tuition rate for unorganized territories because of the fact that we are not funded by EPS with a different, and so annually, the Office of School Finance will send me a list, usually around January, to tell me what the rates are for the EUT for elementary and secondary. And then I send that out to all of the districts where we have students enrolled. Up until that point, if you've been billing monthly or quarterly, we go by the previous year's tuition rates until we receive the new rates, and then we'll make any adjustments as needed for the rate change as it happens. So again, the district should send invoices for tuition at the current tuition rates. Previously coordinated special education services. Previously coordinated means the student is identified as needing special education services, and our education for the unorganized territories, Special Education Director Barbara Pino has notification and has participated in coordinating the services for that student. And also any previously arranged transportation provisions. We have various transportation providers and school districts transporting our students all over the state. And so those are all previously arranged to school starting or upon school starting. The information to include upon invoicing is the state student ID. Because you're able to email the invoices to me, and I do need to know what students you're identifying, we have to be careful and not use names and not give too much personal identifying information. So I need the state student ID number. I can match it up to a name on my end. If it's elementary or secondary level grading, and the UT residency name where you have enrolled them under in Synergy. And the billings can be submitted to my email address, either on a monthly, quarterly, biannual, or annual basis. However, if you're biannually or annually billing, please provide me a list of your UT enrollments in the first quarter of the academic year so that funding can be anticipated for. This past year, at the end of the year, I got an annual billing for some students in an unorganized territory township who had been enrolled all year long. We didn't know they were there, and got the bill at the end of the year. And by that point, they had already been certified under a different residence. The district had received EPS funding for them, and I could not pay for them because they had already received EPS funding based on the October certification. And then again in April, when nothing was requested to be changed. So if I at least get information in the first quarter, when I'm going through the October certification for EUT enrollment, I can catch those kind of things because they were enrolled in a town based on mailing address and not physical address. So they didn't show up as UT residents. Next.
And basically that's it. We just wanted to provide you with the basics of information. And if you have further questions, you can contact us here. Our contact information, Kathy's email address and phone number. Ryan Cunningham is our data systems help desk manager. He was unable to be with us this morning, but he has a good source of information, as is this top link, which is the help desk email. The help desk webpage, which I'm going to turn this back over to Trevor, and he is going to take us to that web page so he can show you how to navigate that page a little bit and show you where this recording will be and where some other helpful information might be. Trevor, have we had any questions to this point?
No, so far. One just asked where the webinar will be located, which I'll show right now when we go to the help desk.
Right. I'm going to turn this over to you and change this.
Yep. Okay.
I think we're viewing your screen now, so we'll give it back to you.
Someone did just ask for us to please post the alternative placement form on the EUT website. So just so you know, that's out there. But as Charlotte was saying, the help desk page is a very extremely useful resource for just about anything you're doing through a year in regards to reporting. So in order to locate that, you'll just come to the maine.gov/DOE/homepage, which will bring you here. And up here, you'll see our section for data and reporting. Once you click that, our section is right here, help desk. And you can also access it right here, but either work. And once you're into the help desk page, here you will see a little splash page of just things that are currently going on at the help desk, or if there's any issues currently going on with reporting. But if you scroll down past that, here we have data reporting instructions, synergy instructions, as well as enrollment guides. These will allow you to, if you're entering things under synergy, it's a good resource of all the different types of scenarios you would be entering into synergy. Same thing with data reporting. Probably the most useful one for you guys on here is the student enrollment guides, just to see the different types of student enrollments that you'd be creating, especially given the situations you guys come across. And then lastly, to get into that question of where this webinar will be posted, as well as if there's a slideshow and documents posted with it, down at the bottom, you'll see our webinars presentation slides. All of our webinars will go here. And as you can see, the QAs get posted with them. This webinar will have the PowerPoint attached with it, so you can also access the PowerPoint that you saw on the webinar today. And it looks like we got one more question. You're very welcome, Lori. Just so if people aren't aware, your GoToWebinar module on the right, if you were to open that with that little red arrow, there is a section in there labeled questions. If you drop that down, you can type a question and hit enter. That'll send it to us, and we'll address them on the webinar. We have a question. Would you mind going over the alternative placement form again? Would you like me to turn that over to you, Charlotte?
Kathy, is there a place we could go on the website to bring the placement form up?
We don't currently have the form on the website.
Okay.
They can email me and I can send them a copy of the form by email. We're going to get it so that it can be downloaded from the website. It's not a form that they would submit by email, or that the parents would submit by email, because it's got personally identifying information, so they need to mail in their request. But if anyone wishes to email me, I'll send them the form. We update it annually also. It's an annual requirement, so it's updated annually.
All right. And please note when emailing Kathy that she does have a G in the middle of her email, so it's kathy.g.severance@maine.gov.
Yes.
If we don't have any more questions, then I think we'll just we'll be finishing up. Happy to give you back some of your day.
Yep, and it looks like all the questions have slowed down. I'm just gonna send Kathy's email to the people asking to view that form.
Okay.
And I believe we're all set.
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much, Charlotte.
All right.
Thank you everyone for joining.
So for those people that are on, we are having help desk phone issues this morning. The weather is not being kind to us. So if you are in need of help desk support, I do suggest that you send an email in to the medams.helpdesk@maine.gov. You'll get faster assistance that way.
And with that, again, the webinar will be located here. Thank you everyone for joining the webinar. And with that, have a great day.
All right. Thank you, everyone.